Right. Warm welcome, everyone. Hello to this SAP Community Monthly Migration Series. It's our third call that we have on this topic. Today with a deep dive on products. I'm very happy that you all joined us. Thank you. With me here in the call are my manager, Craig Schmee here, head of SAP Community, and we have a very, very special guest, our SAP mentor, Chris Payne. We'll introduce him in a second, a little bit more detail. Let's dive right into the agenda, what we'll cover the next minutes, upcoming half an hour. So welcome to Chris Payne, our SAP mentor. We are very happy that he joined us for our call today. Some call to actions for you to take. Then the main topic of this call today, the products and show and tell about the product areas in the SAP community. And of course, this call is really dedicated for you to ask questions. Technical background, how to do so. In order to type your questions in the chat here in YouTube Live, you need to be logged in. So please log in and also let us know where you're tuning in from, how you're feeling today, and of course, anything that you need to know about the SAP community migration that's coming up, and any questions that you might have had already. Let us know. We hear from you for you, and really want to address all questions you might have. And with that, now the official welcome to Chris. Chris, we're very happy that you're joining us today. Chris is one of our SAP influencers, namely an SAP mentor. We'll share the slides with you afterwards and upload it to YouTube, to our description. So you also have the access to all the links here. For instance, the link to know how to submit a nomination to be an SAP community influencer. And Chris is based in Australia, so he's joining us from Australia today, usually in Melbourne, but today in Sydney. So hi, Chris.
Yep. Hi. Yep. So joining from my little hotel room in Sydney, where I'm visiting a customer today. So I've hopefully set up the lighting. It's 6 o'clock in the evening in Sydney, a bit earlier in the morning for you guys, I believe. But hopefully you can hear me and see me well. It's all working?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
Perfect.
All right.
That is dedication, SAP community. Chris, on his customer trip, he's joining us to tell us more about the product area here in SAP community. Okay, let's continue with some of the call to actions, and therefore I'll hand over to Craig.
All right. And before I dive too deep into the call to actions, I do want to say good morning and good afternoon. Gaurav in the chat actually wrote good morning, retracted it, said good afternoon. So of course, time zones are always a challenge in the SAP community because we are so global. For me, it is bright and, well, it's not that bright. It's Germany and it's fall. So it's not that bright out, unfortunately. But it is early morning for me. Chris, as he just pointed out, is that in the evening for him. And again, thank you from my side for joining this call to help with the information flow and everything like that we're trying to put across as we go on this adventure of doing a upgrade, a migration of our platform.
Yeah, well, you know, you did troll it out for me a little bit earlier, hey mate. So I had to come in and talk to you about it. So.
Well, just a little bit. But before we dive into all those call to actions and everything like that, I thought it would be really cool if you could just maybe tell the world a little bit about yourself. I've known you now for years. Other people, especially some of our SAP executives and all that, know you as well because you are constantly there to provide feedback for us to help SAP do better, which is one of the reasons why we asked you to join the call as well. But tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm an SAP mentor. I also have my SAP SuccessFactors Confidant jersey with me. So I'm really in the HXM, the HR side of the world. I've been playing with SAP for over 25 years, implementing SAP HR solutions for over 25 years, which is kind of scary, which explains why I have no hair. And yeah, look, I do love to challenge SAP from time to time, and suggest that perhaps things aren't quite how they should be. But that said, always with a smile. And as long as you don't try and sell me on Bitcoin or blockchain, then we're all good. We won't have any arguments. We can
all right, let me get rid of those
chatting.
notes. Let me get rid of that section of the slides.
Yeah. So I have, my where I came from and how I got into the SAP community was many years ago. The SAP HCM was using WebDimpro ABAP, for those of you remember that. And I was fighting a battle with Thomas Young to see who could score the most points in the WebDimpro ABAP forum on what was the SAP community back then. I did not win the battle because it's Thomas Young. So, what do you do? But we spent a long time, and that's where I came to notice. I did some fun things. I wrote a helicopter. We had a drone which scanned QR codes. This was about 15 years ago, which we pretended was actually scanning a box of bacon that Thomas had imported into Australia at a conference once as a demo jam, and won that over what Thomas presented, which was awesome. But look, I've been in the community for quite a long time. I am a really big advocate of, I think that what happens in the community is the way to advance yourself, is the way to keep understanding and to make things better for the customers. I really do believe that SAP and partners working together through the community really make a big difference to customer experience and customer results. And really that's what we want. Is from my side, I want to make sure that the solutions that I implement for customers are the best they possibly can be. And actually being a huge part of the community really helps me drive that. It makes sure that what I'm doing, I'm up to date. I understand what's happening and where it's going. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me. As I said, I'm here currently. As I mentioned just before we go on the call, I've been doing a day-long workshop on finance and payroll integration, which has been absolutely thrilling. So, having the chance to chat to you, Craig, about the community is a great release for the end of the day.
Awesome. And it's a great segue into our call to actions to everyone out there watching. So there's 3 simple actions that we'd love everybody to do. 1, create your universal ID, link those accounts together. If you want to, now you can go ahead and choose the option to merge your accounts. That way, if you're one of those folks like Chris, who's been in the community since the beginning, and you have maybe multiple accounts or anything like that, that's a great way to merge it all together. Go to the groups area. So in the top level navigation, if you go to community.sap.com, you'll see an option for groups. And that groups area is basically our new productive live platform. So you can already see how it's going to look, see how it functions and everything like that. And if you have already connected to it, the one thing it'll ask you to do is set up your, I think it's called username. It's actually more of a display name, right? So if you want to be like me and you want to call yourself Craig Schmehill, please don't, because I'm using that, so that wouldn't be cool. But if I wanted to change mine, I could go with C Schmehill, which I use on a lot of social media, or I could just do Schmehill, because honestly, I'm the only one inside of SAP with my last name, so I think I'm pretty safe there. Wow. Or you can use, your full name or whatnot, or like our friend DJ Adams, who uses his alias Q Macro. These are all available to you. So it is a display name. It's what everybody else in the community will see you as. And once you do that, you are basically ready to go for now, as well as post-migration as well. So that's really kind of cool. And of course, subscribe and join. It's really simple. Each area that you go to in the community, whether you're like Chris, focused on a product area, you can subscribe to the different product tags. You can subscribe to the different ones that you're interested in, or you can join some of the groups that are available. For example, we have groups down in Australia, Sydney and Melbourne and everything like this. You can join those, connect with your local community members, or like Chris, if you're on a business trip and you're heading somewhere, you are welcome to join one of those groups if there happens to be a group for the city that you're on your way to. So you can get in touch with local people who are in the area, and maybe you want to grab a bite to eat or something like that instead of hanging out in your hotel room having a chat with me on a YouTube channel. So there's all different options there, and it's all available today. And I think that's one of the really cool things about the migration this time is we're already live on the platform, which is really cool, right? We started using the platform October of 2021. So we've gotten a lot of experience, a lot of different things about it. We're still tweaking and going and as we figure things out, but we're already live. So you can already jump on and be live as well. All right, and then as we move forward, of course, universal ID is the big key. There's a QR code here. You can scan it, you can log in, you can create your UID account. I know a lot of people are, wondering why UID, why UID, why UID, and it's very simple. SAP for all of our digital properties are moving to UID. Why? Because we're trying to get away from this idea of this account versus that account versus this account versus this account. So one universal ID with all of your accounts connected. That's the whole goal behind this. So yes, I know we're still working on this. We are taking all of your feedback. We are putting that in. We are making the improvements as we go. Bear with us, but please, yes, get your UID. Because if you don't have a UID come migration, all your content will be anonymized, and we don't want you to lose your content. That's a really big key. We don't want you to lose that content.
Anonymous poster or anonymous user.
Or yeah, you don't want to be that former member or whatever, right? Yeah. So, all right, but as we move forward, so again, really cool, very simple. Set up your profile, right? So again, you hit that site, groups.community.sp.com, or go to community.sp.com and click groups. Up in the little right-hand corner, there's a little silhouette of a person. Click that person and that display name, which it says username. I keep arguing with them, please change it to display name, but we will get there. And the whole idea here is you are up and running and you are live in the system, and you can already start setting up your notification settings. You can already start setting up your favorites. You can already start doing all the different subscriptions that you like. Some of the cool things on the platform that I've discovered that I really like, you can subscribe to a search. So if you go in and you put a search in and you say this plus this minus this plus this and this or this, you can actually subscribe to that and get it as RSS, and you can even do date relevant. Chris, I don't know if you've seen this or not.
Can I just exclude any posts that include the word blockchain? Then
exactly.
It won't come through to me. I like that.
Yes, you can, and you can even tell it date relevant. So only show me the things that are like a week old or older, right? And it keeps that relevant date in there. So it's really cool.
I tell you something I do for my subscriptions, Craig.
Yeah.
I have different rates of notification for different areas, which I find like really, really useful. So like I have like a daily digest of some of the HXM area thing, but then when it comes to things like IPS and IAS, because it's the bit geeky area of HXM, which I really enjoy, those I get all immediately notifications if someone posts into that particular area.
Very nice.
So like I can, mix and match what I want to do with some of the stuff. So
very cool. So as everybody hears, you have full customization and control over your notification settings to a very granular level, which is really kind of cool. And of course, we have our biggest area, the what's new. This is something that we had in the old environment, but it wasn't very dynamic and it wasn't interactive, meaning you couldn't subscribe to it, you couldn't get updates for it, and you couldn't comment or anything like that on it. So this is something that we definitely recommend to everybody. If you want to know like new badges that are coming, new tags, new groups that have launched, like our artificial intelligence and machine learning group, or if there's a change coming. So big one, and it's either it's live now or it will be live later today. So I'm about to, let the proverbial cat out of the bag here. Success factors. We have a bunch of user groups for success factors, and these are individual groups that were in there. We're about to move all of them together under their own area called SAP SuccessFactors user groups. That way it's easier to find, easier to get to, and everything like that. Right now, they're kind of distributed amongst all the others.
That kind of makes sense. That's a good move. That will be useful.
That was what we were thinking. Originally, we thought, oh no, it'll make more sense when everything's merged together because everybody will find and everything. But these groups are actually only relevant if you're a SuccessFactors customer. Otherwise, there's not really a lot of relevancy for you. So they are all about to get moved in. So this week, there will be a new section where you go into the groups and it says like location, interest, activity, industry, and all this. There will be a new section, SAP SuccessFactors user groups. And you can find all of your SuccessFactors user groups right there, and then be able to get into the ones that are relevant to you. So we're really excited to be able to make these moves. And that's something that the What's New is going to be sharing with everybody, is that there'll be a new post, there'll be a new update, and these are the types of things that we put into What's New. So if you're interested in that and seeing what's going on, of course, please, by all means, subscribe to the What's New area. We're not going to flood you, right? We're not going to overload you with a bunch of stuff. It's what's new in the SAP community. It's not what's new in SAP, because I don't think anybody can keep up with that these days, but it's what's new in the SAP community. So, all right. Gosh, what do we have here? And of course, Chris, you as our big guest and host, co-host today, as we move on to the next slide here, we want to make sure that you have time to share with everyone. And we, of course, like to surprise everybody with a big old photo of themselves.
That's just beautiful. Or not, really. So tell us. So I look a little fatter. I don't know.
So, but Chris, honestly, as you said, you've been around the community for 20 years. Okay.
Yeah.
You've been in the space for 25. You've already talked a little bit about what you think about community and everything like that. I think this, for example, is a great quote. I think it says a lot. But can you tell us a little bit about your thinking? You know, somebody new in the space, or somebody that's been in the space like yourself for a long time. How can they really get started?
Okay, so what I did say, I do have some subscriptions to the different areas, and I do find that this is actually incredibly useful. But as you did say, it's, you know, no one can keep up with what's all that's new with SAP, and even like keeping up with what's new in SuccessFactors, SAP SuccessFactors is hard. You know, just the one area. What I do find is, like, I subscribe, I get the daily digests of the different areas, and I don't necessarily read through all those posts, because quite honestly, I don't care about the Form I-9 that's happening in the US or whatever it is, but I can see that there's a lot of people who do care about that. And that kind of leads to the point. So what it does enable me to do is actually pick up those areas which are, you could say, trending, or there's a lot of interest, because that really does then reflect back to me and goes, okay, well, if there's lots of people interested in here, then probably my customers are going to be interested, or there is something that I probably should be paying a little bit of attention to that can help me understand better some of those areas. So I do actually use the subscriptions, not just to read through everything and see that, you know, I've got people who have replied and given me kudos for putting in the correct link to the non-SAP employee version of the help page, but that it's actually understanding what makes a difference, what matters. Now, there is some other things that happen as well. So I'm a partner in the SuccessFactors space with a lot of partners helping implement the solution. And we actually have a partner-only area in the community, which is pretty darn cool. And you'd think, like, how on earth does that work? Well, what it does mean is that we as partners can share stuff, and it is weird, but some of the most helpful conversations happen in that space, where partners are actually from different firms. We are competing, but we're also sharing information. So, which is great, you know, it really does, and it shows that people are trying to actually make the system better for their customers. Like, you know, whilst we are competing, generally, people in this space are trying to get the best for their customers. They are trying to help each other. So I do find that it's a really cool little feature of the community. If you are a HXM partner and you're working in SuccessFactors, you should be on the community, because that's one, we get information before it goes to the customers. So there's stuff that gets posted on that community before it goes out to the customers. And then, yeah, it goes out to the customers as well. And you can have then both sides of the conversation, which is really valuable as well. Understanding what the difference between, you know, how partners are interpreting a particular solution versus how customers are interpreting the solution as well. I would definitely, if you are a partner and you're not part of the SuccessFactors community, what are you doing? I mean, this is where all of the new stuff comes out. This is where you're going to learn about how it works. And if you don't understand it, this is where you can post that question, and you can, as you know, Craig said, you don't have to use your real name even on the solution. If you want to be Humpty Dumpty number 2, you can be Humpty Dumpty number 2 on thing, and I will never know who you are until you sign your name as Fred, and then I'll know you're Fred. But you can, if you're not comfortable asking questions like totally out there, you can be kind of pseudo anonymous as well within the tooling. So which is pretty cool. Enables people to feel a little bit more open about sharing some of their stuff. So do that. I definitely find that, you know, I'll go back to the years ago when I was, you know, trying to compete with Thomas for you know, WebDimPro, ABAP.
The silly mistakes we do in our youth.
Yeah, I know. And what I found there is that I was actually, you know, looking at the forums, the questions that were being posed within the tooling, and I was using that for my self-learning. So I'd go through and I'd go, yeah, well, I know the answer to that one. I could type the answer, but then I'd see the question that I didn't know the answer to. And I would then challenge myself to go, well, surely I can figure out what the answer to this one should be. And I'd go and look and see if there was a KBA or something, or some help pages, or this was ABAP. I would actually dig into the ABAP code and try and figure out how it worked, and get some of the answers and then share them. And, you know, you don't have to be 100% correct, but be open with people, and that you're trying to come up, have you tried this? Have you done some of that kind of stuff? And that really, it really just enabled my ability to learn. So they say the best way to learn is to teach. Yeah. So if you are trying to tell other people, this is Feynman, I think, said this. If you're trying to get other people to understand, then you yourself will learn through the process of trying to figure out how to explain something to someone else. So I would really encourage that as well. If there's an area where you want to learn, go on, jump onto the forums, figure out what people are asking the questions about, and then try and figure it out. You know, you don't have to be 100% right, and people are generally very very appreciative of any question, even if you're just like commiserating with them, saying, "Yeah, I don't know how to do that either." Then people are like,
"Oh, this is true." Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a great way to actually get in there and improve your own knowledge of a given product area.
So, and speaking of product areas, it's actually the one that's live right now in our productive environment happens to be your area of specialty. It's the SAP SuccessFactors related, so that HXM related area. So I think we have on our next slides, we have, of course, a little bit of details about this, about getting into that area, where you can go from our topic pages about SAP SuccessFactors. And there's topic pages, subtopic pages about covering all the different topics and everything like that. If you go to community.successfactors.com, you'll actually land on the SAP SuccessFactors topic page. And of course, to ask your questions and dive deeper and everything like that, we have the human experience management area under the products. And to your point, and I find it really interesting you brought this up, because just yesterday there was a comment on one of my blog posts about the migration, about somebody who has just discovered the partner area of the platform and was confused. Why do we have two different ones? And I said, it's really difficult to say this in a single comment and why it is, but at the same time, I think you just clarified it immensely quickly. This is an area for partners to get themselves ready to go, to be able to have those all sides of the conversation with customers and everything like that. So maybe I should have waited to answer that comment until today, and then just link to this. So
you can go back, you'll find it again.
Yeah. So Matthias, if you're watching this one, Chris just gave the perfect answer for this. Why do we have a partner area? It's to make sure our partners, all of you, are ready to go to be able to engage. And it's not just the success factor stuff in the partner area. There's stuff related to Ariba, to S/4HANA Cloud, to BTP. There are a lot of things in that area. And if you are logged in with your partner login, you can get access to it. In fact, it'll show up dynamically and automatically.
Universal ID.
There you go. Look at that. It's almost like we scripted it.
Oh my goodness.
So we have these areas, and you were talking about some of the great ways to get involved. You talked about the semi-anonymous and everything like that. Now, of course, if somebody changes that display name later on and calls them, changes it from Humpty Dumpty 2 to Fred, even whether they sign or not, if they change it at some point, all of those old posts are now going to show as Fred. So just keep that in mind. But again, I think to the point that Chris just made, we're a community. We're here to help each other, not to put each other down. And I mean, I've still got stuff in there from when I was learning SAP 20 something years ago. And my boss said, hey, go learn this thing SAP so you can install it when you come back to the US. That was my starting point of SAP. I had to go learn it so I could install it.
Oh, wow.
So anybody in the SAP space is probably sitting there going, wait a minute, did he just say install, not implement? Yes. So that was my understanding of it. And it happened to be, I'm going to give him a shout out on this call. Actually, a couple of shout outs. Gregor Wolf in the community, who was one of the first people online who helped me understand what I was doing in the SAP space. He's also one of our SAP mentors. He's been there from the beginning. And then there was a colleague at the customer I used to work for, who's now also at SAP, named Pooven, down in Australia, actually, who came all the way from our offices in Australia to Germany and actually sat down with me to give me the enlightenment of, you don't install SAP, you implement SAP. So Pooven Govender down there in Australia, big shout out to him as well for helping me on my journey. And then, like Chris, I also thought I could beat Thomas Young at some point with points. I did for at least a week while he was on vacation. He came back from vacation and
did the same.
But for I think I even have a screenshot somewhere where I was number one, he was number two, type of thing. But it only lasted while he was on vacation. And of course, the big rumor back in those days was there's no way that Tom can write all of this stuff himself. We think his cat is helping him, right? So there was a big meme inside the community back in the day about that. But I mean, you've covered a lot for us, Chris. You've talked about a lot of different areas. There's the Q&A for HXM. There's the blog post for HXM. And for everybody in the community, you'll see this where we have the section called products. With the migration, that'll change from products to products and technology, and it will expand to incorporate lots of different areas there. There'll be 8 major areas. Actually, hint, hint, there's going to be 9. I'm not going to tell you what the 9th one is yet. But there's 8 major areas, and those areas are all focused on what you would expect. It's the HR related stuff. It's the CRM related stuff. It's the ERP. It's the the finance related stuff. It's the technology related area and everything like that. And of course, if you have questions about, SAP help portal or support portal or things like that, there's going to be a place for you to do there. And you'll also be able to jump into, all of the managed tags pages like we have today when you want to find the different tags and everything like that. So there's a lot of stuff that we're bringing all into this. You can see some of these screenshots where the menu bar across the top, it'll be that traditional one that you see on community.sp.com right now. And of course, we are literally lifting up all 2-something million of our Q&A, and we're bringing it into this environment, but we're not dumping it into a single one. We're actually going to separate it into these 8 major ones. So each one of these areas will have a Q&A. So if you're somebody who's only focused on supply chain, you now have the ability to really dial in and only look at the supply chain related Q&A, supply chain related blogging, and we're going to actually make blogging by SAP and blogging by members. So if you're not interested in what your fellow community members are writing about, you only want to get the updates from SAP, you can do that. And if you don't really want to get the updates from SAP and you want to see what real people are doing with the stuff themselves, you can go into the blogs by members. And one of the reasons we wanted to do this was to also help to allow you to consume this content a little bit easier, right? We have a lot of content. It's a lot because we have a lot of areas. And yes, the subscriptions, as Chris showed and talked about, that he can dial his in daily digest, immediately updates and everything like that. There's also a weekly digest option. There's subscriptions or RSS and everything like this. It's still a lot of content. So we wanted to try to help make these things a little bit easier. And you can actually subscribe to individual boards. You can join groups, you can subscribe to the boards, you can subscribe to a whole category. That way, anything in the future that we add, so if we all of a sudden added, a whole event area just for supply chain management or something like that, you'd automatically get that subscription as well if you subscribe to a category level. So we're trying and putting a lot of effort in to bring all of this stuff together. We're doing a lot of user testing to try to make this easier. It's feedback from our SAP mentors and our SAP champions that are helping to dial this in a little bit more detailed, just so that we can help you.
You're not going to have all the SAP people go at the top of the leaderboards. They're actually going to they're going to let some of us get onto the leaderboards.
So the fun thing, actually, we just had a conversation about this as well yesterday. So somebody at some point is going to be like, "What, did you feed him all these statements to say?" No, it didn't actually. I was just having a conversation last night actually about this with the leaderboards. So we have a rank ladder, and it's actually kind of cool that you segued into this, Chris, spontaneously, because Chris is one of the people that asked about our rank ladder, right? This galactic and cosmic and all this stuff that we had. And he was like, "Well, what is this? Why is this there?" This is what the platform calls a rank ladder. And basically it's the level in the community based on your activity that you're moving up, and you go up the rank ladder. And right now, if you see an employee in the community, it says employee, and that's it. And of course, that's not cool, because some employees are really super active. Some are doing other things. Some are doing this. Some are doing that. Some of them are high on the rank ladder because, they're not Tom Young, and Chris doesn't have a beef with him over the years because he never beat him. But so what we're doing is we're actually separating that rank ladder. So there's going to be a rank ladder for community members. It will start with something more obvious like newcomer up to active contributor, as opposed to galactics and cosmics and all this. And then on the employee side, we're also going to have an employee rank ladder, so you can actually see product and topic experts on the employee side, right? That also means that we can actually separate the leaderboards and actually have one for employees and one for non-employees if we wanted to, or just simply have one for non-employees. So there's a little bit of a misnomer. Some employees do this because they enjoy it, because they like it, they want to be part of the community as well. Some do it because it is, in some way, shape, or form, is part of their job. And it's really hard to distinguish between the two without physically going and asking each and every single one of them, right? Tom Young, for example, this was never part of his job. He took it and just kept going because he was a customer before he was an employee, right? But of course, it's now part of his job because he's the head of our developer advocates, and this is what they do, right? So it's, you always have this weird part that it seems that the employees who really enjoy it, have fun with it, it becomes part of their job later on because they're so good at it. So we are thinking about all of these things. And yes, but we are wanting to make sure that the leaderboards highlight our community members who are really putting out the effort and everything like that as well. But we also don't want to disregard our employees who in many cases are super excited to just be part of it. So there's a few things going on there that we're trying to figure out and everything like that. But the really cool thing is the platform itself gives us a lot of this capability, right? So this is an industry built platform for community interaction. So we're really excited for that. We're working with the vendor already. We're already working with the vendor on their future roadmap, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what's something specific to SAP, what's something that all platforms needs. Like there's things with the EU where, you know, you need to do this because of legal requirements or something. But then there's things like us, right? The platform originally called it associated product. And I think a few people might have realized that we've changed from associated product to SAP managed tag, which is consistent with our old platform. And it's because we don't just put products in there, we put tags that are relevant to SAP, right? Whether it's, you know, Rise with SAP, Grow with SAP, or it's SAP SuccessFactors, Finance Management, or Payroll Central, or something like this. So, you know, we of course need to tweak it a little bit ourselves, but we're also trying to live up to our own words. We're trying not to modify the core of it too much so that we can keep it clean.
It's not going to be a ZAP, yeah?
No, we're trying to avoid the Z, and it's really funny because there's a role in the system that actually starts with Z now. And I was like, oh. Last night, yesterday, it was like, I mean, again, Chris, it's like you're nailing everything, every conversation I had yesterday. Somebody gave me I said, what's the name? What do we call this role name? And they were like, oh, it's Z Manual. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And it's for one of the badges that we have in the community, right? So it's all these gamification badges that we have. And there's one related to our tour of the community, which we're updating for the new platform. Yeah. And whenever we create a badge in the system, we also create a role associated. So we assign a user to the role, the user automatically gets the badge, for example. And the badge, the role name is actually Z Manual Community Tour Badge.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, we know where the person who created that one came from, yeah?
And I think I laughed for like 5 minutes in the call, and they're like, what's so funny? Because they didn't do it. So yeah, so there's a lot of things there in the platform. We're going to try to do our best to make sure that we don't tweak too far in any one direction that gives us problems in the future. And then, you know, because we've outgrown our previous environments because we tweaked a lot. And so now we want to get ourselves right on track for this as we move forward. And I have no idea what we have left in the slides because Chris and I have come completely off.
We're just like, why was there a script? There was never a script. The one thing that I should say, though I do remember from the notifications, you have the option to have like a summarized notification or actually to include the texts of the posts in the notifications.
Yes.
And that's a cool thing to do, that you can actually, the email that gets sent to you actually contains the text of the thing that's been posted, which can be really useful rather than just seeing the title, which isn't. So if you may want to turn that on if you're using your notifications.
I would recommend everybody just today, right now, just go in there, click on that little icon in the top right corner once you log in and go under my settings and just start playing around and see what's there. You can set the default time zone. So for example, Chris would set his time zone to Australian time. I would set mine to Central European time. But if you're in the US or you're somewhere else, you can actually select the time zone that you do. That way you see everything there in that time zone. So if you look at the event listing, you'll see the event listings listed with your actual time zone on it. And I think in the very beginning, we had this defaulted to Pacific time, which really just kind of confused everybody. I think we've changed that now to Central European, but ultimately everybody can stop. It's not wrong. It's just maybe not convenient. But everybody, the whole point is everybody can set their own, right? And once you set it, it's set. And if I change a default in the system for everybody, it won't affect you because you've already adjusted away from the default. So when you're looking at all your settings, you'll see like it'll say in parentheses default value or default selected or something. And that means that if I change at a system level, any of those, it'll change for you as well. But if you select your own individually, then of course you have it going forward. All right, but attempting to get a little bit back on script here, right? The general search. So Chris, how do you use the platform? Do you just dive in, look through everything, or do you also do the searches and everything? I mean, we talked a little bit about the search, and you can bookmark a search or subscribe.
There'll be a little bit. So sometimes it's more to the point of generally I'm looking at the platform. I have the subscription, so that's keeping me generally aware of what's happening. But sometimes I will come in, I'll go like, I don't know how this new piece of functionality works.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm jumping into the search. And I'm going, okay, I want to figure out how, cross-system workflows. Type in cross-system workflow. And then, add in the little bits about not necessarily just all community. I want to look in just my area and do those breakdowns because, I really don't care about, finance to something else. As long as it's got HXM in, and it's all cool. So, but that's how I would use it. To be fair, still often using the old Google it search, which is then taking me into the community as well and breaking down those pages as well. But yeah, definitely. What I do find is actually going into the forum that's associated with the area that I'm looking at and then searching in there, because then I get some really useful results coming back.
Perfect. Good. So. All right. And again, folks, you go in, you start tweaking your search, you can bookmark it. And that search URL is then customized just to whatever you typed in. So if you do all your search and then say minus blockchain, you can have that all saved. So there's a lot of different things. The platform today, the way it works, or the platform that we're moving to, is actually it's a built-in search before you even post a question. So as you type it in, it's doing a live search within the platform to try to help you. If you're like, yep, nope, not helping me, click continue anyway, and then you just start writing your question. But it's actually really kind of cool. And then as we get more and more of our content in, so the other 2-something million questions in there, we'll have finally all of the HR related technologies all together into one place, so that the searches will be a lot more efficient and a lot cooler and everything like that. So that's really good. I think we've covered search quite a bit. I think we have the next slide here talks about the discussions and blogging and everything like this. I don't know if we have a lot of discussion in the product area itself, but we do for the different groups. And the whole idea was sometimes you need to have a conversation, not just I have a problem, what's my answer, but sometimes you need the conversation as well. And the SAP SuccessFactors user groups all have discussions where you can actually have the conversations back and forth. Our application development group, our enterprise architecture group, our artificial intelligence and machine learning group, these are all the ideas of a discussion, right? Having a conversation. There is not necessarily one right answer to it. So we're really excited that we were able to bring the idea or the concept of a conversation back into the community. It's been a long time since we've had it. So we brought that back. I don't know, Chris, have you had a lot of experience in some of the groups in that regard?
Yeah, look, some of them, like quite often discussions just get fired off in blog posts, quite honestly.
True.
There's a blog post that someone's put out there and then the comments go a little bit crazy. But no, it is useful. there's the difference between asking a question and, you know, wanting to have a discussion about something, and it is nice to have that differentiation. So,
all right, cool. Speaking of conversations that going crazy and all that, as a member, what are some of the ways that you engage, right? So for a first-time person, I know we've covered some of this earlier in the conversation and everything like that, but I mean,
so
there's
these are
so
the
many
prompts
different ways.
for me if I hadn't covered up some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm thinking, I wonder if this was supposed to be a hidden slide because we've already covered it.
No, look, to be fair, this bit about the kudos thing, it's really nice when you get a little notification come through on the phone and someone's given you a little kudos for putting something. It's a really nice feeling. It doesn't cost you anything to do it. Like, give a kudos. Just press the little thumbs up. It's so nice. You know, I mean,
Yeah, no, it's for sure, for sure. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of times that I will personally go in and just start kudoing just because I saw somebody took the moment to say, like in our welcome corner, right? We have the welcome corner group, and we encourage all members to come in and say hello and say where you're from and everything. And I always go in and I'll every week or so, I'll just take some time to kudo everybody who said hi from somewhere. Right. And I try, it's hard to keep up. There's a lot in there. It's really hard to keep up. But again, to your point, it doesn't cost me anything. And it's, for me, it's just really nice to see somebody took the moment to say hi, right? It's kind of cool, right? It's like smiling back as somebody walks down the hallway and they smile at you and you smile back. You have no clue who they are, but why not? Right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt you, makes someone else feel better, and it brings a little community together. And it, you know, we are all trying to, as I said, get the best result for the SAP customers. And if we can do that by, you know, smiling, you know, and just appreciating what other people are doing, that's so much better.
No, for sure. For sure.
What else do we? Yeah. Right.
I think we have a couple of more slides on reasons to join, which I think we have hounded everybody on the reasons for joining. It's about being part of, it's about connecting and joining. We won't rehash a lot of this stuff, but I think one of the ones that's underestimated a lot is the last one on this list. Lifelong relationship. I mean, there are people in this community that I have known for 20 years now or longer. DJ Adam, I mentioned him earlier as well. DJ and I just had the opportunity 20 years apart to share a photo. We actually tried to recreate the photo 2 weeks ago in Bangalore at TechEd of the two of us, and he posted the 20 years ago and the one side by side. I mean, he has less hair, I have more gray hair, but you know, I mean, 20 years apart. So,
I had the experience the other day. There was someone in the community has been posting in the SuccessFactors community, and I was at Success Connect, which is the SuccessFactors big global conference, and we're all wearing our name tags, and I saw the name. I was like, oh, I know you. And we went up and shook hands, and it was like, oh, Chris, yes. We'd never seen each other face to face before, but had been chatting in the forums. It's like, it is cool. You know, it opens doors. You know, it's about introducing yourself to other people. You know, the connections are so valuable.
For sure. If you're in the chat and you've just maybe tell us, how long have you been in the community yourselves? I mean, Chris and I have been there since the beginning of the community. He's been in the SAP space longer than I have, and he, of course, probably didn't start thinking it was something to install, like I did. To this day, I'm like, oh my god, how did I ever think that? But
did they give you some CDs and say, hey, go for it? Or...
the man actually, yes, they did. I think I have them too. He gave me the WebAS 6.1 CDs or DVDs to install. He said, here, this is SAP, go install it.
Yeah, that'll work. That's great.
I think I have a Mac here on the shelf too. So, absolutely craziness. Yeah. Yeah, it's the memories. Yeah, folks, it's the community is community, whether it's for SAP or something else. I mean, you make connections, you meet people. You know, like Chris, you meet somebody, shake their hand, you know each other, you've known each other for years, but it's hard to realize that you've never actually met face to face before. It's kind of a weird feeling, but it's one of the coolest things. So when we're at events, I mean, I love to just say hi to people and meet the people that I've been talking to online and everything like that. So definitely very cool there. Of course, if you're focused on a product like Chris is, joining the product area is absolutely one of the best things that you can do. Subscribe to it, get all those options. Chris has already told you a slew of how he does it and how to go about it and everything like that. Some of the other things to keep in mind is this platform does have the ability to send private messages. You also have the ability to block people who are sending you private messages. Hopefully you never need to use it, but the ability is there. And of course, blogging, discussions, Q&A, groups, event listings, everything like that. And if you're somebody in the community, like our folks down in Australia who do some of the coolest community events, you can always come to us and we can either get you access to list your own community events, or we can list them for you, and then others can join in and share as well. All right, let's see, what else do we have here? All of the research. There's so much going on. I'm not going to rehash these things. These are all those things there that you can take advantage of and go to and check out. And the biggest, easiest thing is just start. Go to the groups, click that little silhouette of the person, and you're good to go. It's that easy. And with that, let's see if there's any Q&A from the audience.
Not so far.
All right.
I just reminded everyone again that in order to ask a question, you need to be logged into YouTube, into your YouTube account, and then post it in the chat. And I would be happy to address any questions to Craig and Chris. But it seems like it's all clear pretty much what it'll look like, how it'll work, how to ask questions, how to start a discussion, how to blog.
Yeah. And just make sure you call things HXM, not HCM. You know, that's... I did see that on your slide. I was, you know, earlier. I was like, you better not be moving us back to HCM in the next products when you migrate. I'm gonna get so upset.
No, come on. SAP SuccessFactors is the HXM suite. Absolutely. No, nothing changes there. Awesome. There are a lot of other things that are maybe not part of HXM suite, but you know, can't forget those, right? We need to be inclusive here. Can't leave out the other stuff.
Yes. We love payroll.
Listen, you know, it's not an area that I've ever had to deal with, but you know, through the migration and through working to get the SuccessFactors partner area and the SuccessFactors customer areas brought all in together as SAP goes on this journey to bring all of our communities together to make it easier for everybody to get to. I have learned a lot of terminology in the space of like Employee Central, payroll, and all of things that I never thought I would need to worry about or do. To the point where hilariously, I was trying to figure out how to do something inside of the company at SAP. And as I was searching, I ended up landing in the community with the steps on how to get to that, you know, for our own internal. So it was really cool that as a SAP employee, the community actually helped me do something myself. So that was really kind of cool. I even gave that a kudo immediately. So I was like, oh yeah, like it. Because that really helped me out. So it's kind of cool how it all comes together and how even as employees we can use the community to our benefit as well. So all fun. Chris, thank you so much for hanging out with me, for giving up your dinner time here.
Fun, man.
It's been a blast. So much appreciated. Any parting words that you have to the audience on community joining, call
So
to action to them from your side?
you will get more out than you put in, but you have to put in to get something out. So give a little and you'll reap the rewards. They will
Awesome.
come.
Fantastic. All right. So then, Chris, we will leave you to the rest of your evening. Hopefully we didn't take away your dinner time. Hopefully you can get a little bite to eat or something like that still.
I'll find
hopefully
something.
It's not too late.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. Safe travels. And thank you again for helping us out here. Take care,
No worries,
everyone.
man.
Thanks
Cheers all.
everyone for joining.